Job title might say one thing, but that's just the beginning. We've got something shiny and new to help you out. The Cloudmaster 3000, a magical machine that clones you to accomplish more with data protection. Kidding. Until we get there, meet Metallic. Enterprise-grade backup and recovery delivered via SaaS for simplicity and flexibility. Powered by Commvault's proven technology, it's everything you need to protect 1 terabyte of data to 1,000 or more. Full coverage across servers, clouds, and devices. Critical security. Data encrypted in flight and at rest. Fast performance through sophisticated deduplication and bandwidth optimization. All this functionality delivered through the cloud. SaaS means automatic upgrades, no hardware costs, and only paying for what you need. Plus, the flexibility to use our storage or your own. Until you can clone yourself, count on Metallic for backup and recovery with no compromises.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arvinder. So what you see name over there, it's quite a mouthful, very hard to pronounce and remember. Arvinder will do. So 15 minutes, I got around 10, 11 slides. We can do it one way. I can take 15 minutes to complete those 11 slides, elaborate on the slides, or I can do the slides in 10 minutes, then we can have a Q&A, because I'm sure you'll be having a lot of questions on what do we do, how do we do it, and how to protect your data, okay? To take care of all the cyber threats which are coming up day in, day out. So how do you want to do it? Slides, Q&A? Less slides? Okay, awesome. Numbers, very familiar numbers. Everybody have shown these numbers and all have talked about it. Just to give you a perspective, maybe 3 years back, if we talk about ransomware in India, none of the customer would say, yes, this is a very threat which is out there, I need to prepare for it. It used to be happening for a customer in US or maybe customer in Europe, but not in India. We were not too much worried about it. Yesterday, not even yesterday, 2 days back, we had 3 customers who had raised a support ticket and were coming out of a cyber attack. I couldn't even think about 3 years back that we would have any customers and we would be in this kind of situation. But 2 days back, we had 3 customers coming out of a cyber attack. And the good thing is, the backup copies were still there. Even though the ransomware had encrypted their entire data center, the backup copies were there. They were able to set up their backup infra and recover from it. So that's a good thing. But look at the pains they would have gone through, right? When you have a cyber attack, you don't come out of it in maybe 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. No. It takes you around anything from 10 to 15 days to 20 days, depending on how big is your setup and how fast you want to restore it. Right? Some numbers again. Every time we used to have a numbers which analysts would predict about US. I got a downtime, so they will give some number, $5 million per minute, per hour, whatever it was, but it was US specific. But the numbers you see over here, $2.8 million, this is something which is coming from Indian customers. These are Indian specific numbers, okay? Okay, forget the number. I do half the number, okay? Even then, $1 million or $1.4 million, is that a small change? Is that a change which a company can ignore? If the company had invested in some maybe 100K or 200K, or maybe they had deployed a multi-layered solution in their environment, they might not have got hit with a cyber attack. Or even if they got hit with a cyber attack, they had ways of coming out of it. That's the main thing. It's not a question of if you will get hit with a cyber attack. You definitely will get hit with a cyber attack. It's how fast you'll be able to come out of it, right? And the people for whose backup copies also get encrypted, what is the way for them to come out of it? Pay the money, pay the ransom. There's no other way. And how many people, even after paying ransom, are able to get the data back? Just look at the numbers, 4%. I'll just skip this slide. So zero loss strategy. This is one a customer should be aiming to. I would get hit with a cyber attack, that's for sure. But what are my different layered or defenses which I put in place which will allow me to come back out of it? How fast would I be able to come back it? Second, is my data fully protected? Many a times it so happens that you have different teams in your data center. You could have a different development, you have a different testing team, you have a different team working on different projects. They have got their own set of hardware, they have got own set of applications. It's all sprawling out. And when you ask, is your data protected? No, it's not. Why? Because the backup admin or the administrator, the data center administrator is not even aware which all teams are there who have got their own backups, own hardware and the applications running, they are not aware. Because now each of the team have got their own budget, they procure by themselves and they deploy it themselves. And the data center admin has no view of no visibility of the data which is being created by these different teams. This is all company IPR, don't you need to protect it? Tomorrow when you have a cyber attack, nobody is going to say, why didn't you, nobody is going to say, come and tell you, it was a mistake of these guys, they didn't tell you, you didn't back it up. They're going to ask you, why didn't you back it up? It's your responsibility. Why didn't you go out and have a look? Why didn't you tell these guys, these are the standard operating procedures when you deploy any application, or when are you creating any data set, which is a company IPR. End-to-end data visibility, this talks about more about having a single tool which allows you to back up your data and protect the data, even replicate the data out of it. The reason being, if you have multiple tools doing all things separately, the recovery process becomes more lengthened. The recovery process becomes more complex, and many a times there is a ball dropped. Two applications might not be talking to each other synergistically, so there might be some data loss which might happen. Okay, there might be a ball drop between two applications. One application would say, I have sent the data out. Second application say, I haven't received the data. Who's responsible? Don't know. But now you're finding out because when you're recovering the data, you find you don't have it. So now the blame game can begin. But data, which is a company IPR or the company lifeblood, where is it now? Nobody has it. Live monitoring for early detection. These are some of the features which are available in a Commvault, which allows you to look at the I/O pattern which is happening on the client end to find out if there is a ransomware attack. Okay. What it does is, once when you do a backup, it baselines your I/O pattern for the next 10 to 15 days. And basis that baseline, it will have a look at the I/O patterns, and when day it finds your I/O patterns are going high. It could be maybe a ransomware is trying to encrypt your data, too many reads writes are happening, your I/O patterns will go up and it will trigger an alert. It will trigger an alert, it will go to your console, it will send an email, and it will also take that client off the network. Now somebody needs to go investigate, find out, is it really a ransomware, or maybe it's a program which ran haywire, or maybe user was doing something which was perfectly legible. Okay, but at least it gives you some more ways of making sure that even if you have an attack, you are able to find it much before it does something credible in your data center. Broadest workloads. So these days, if you look at technology, is it's running at furious speed. Every day something new is coming along. Every day your team is coming and saying, I want to deploy, or maybe I want to start with something new, and you have no idea what is that application, what does it do, how do you protect that data. These days the buzzword is OpenShift, OpenStack, right? And then again, if you look at the CNCF for OpenStack, there are hundreds of different applications and different kind of Kubernetes. One team would say, I'm going to running a Mirantis. The second guy says, I'm going to run some Red Hat. The third team would say, I want to run a SUSE. How do you think your team would have people who would be knowing all these different kind of set of Kubernetes, how to protect them, how do they run, how to deploy them, how to take care of them? It's not easy, right? It's not easy. That's where Commvault comes and help you out, because all of these are CNCF certified. We provide you the capability to protect all the data which is created by all these different kind of Kubernetes out there. Different SaaS platforms. You might be having Microsoft 365, you might be using SharePoint in that, OneDrive in that, okay? You have a lot of data in SharePoint. Do you protect your SharePoint? Everybody talks about Office and says, even if I delete an email, I'll be able to recover it in 60 days. But that is from a trash. That is not a backup copy. That is from a trash which is held there for 60 days, right? What do you do for a SharePoint? What do you do for your teams where you have internal documents being transferred over between different teams over Microsoft Teams? How do you take and protect all that data? Then you might be running Salesforce. How do you protect that? Whenever we speak to a customer, many of the customers are not even aware that Salesforce does not protect your data. It does not take care of your data. It's the customer responsibility to take care of your data. Not Microsoft, not Salesforce, not AWS, not Google, no one. So different protection of different SaaS platforms, legacy systems. For the companies who have been here for the last 50 years, they would be having a lot of legacy systems running internally, and they would not be able to upgrade for whatever the reason. So Commvault will also help you protect those legacy systems. We have customers in pharmaceutical segment who are still running Windows 95. Tell them to upgrade. They have certain tools running on Windows 95 because there's no upgrade path for that tool. Stuck with it, you have to go with it, and you still have to protect that. So Commvault allows you to do all that. Ensure faster business response. How do you do that? Replicate your data. Replicate your data, set up a DR strategy that whenever you have any problem in your data center, you're at least able to revert back to a DR, okay? Now DR usually would be the last copy, good copy. If you also replicate your backup copy, you also have then multiple points from where you can do a recovery. It would definitely take more time compared to setting up a DR, but DR you need to invest a lot. So it's a trade-off. Depending on your critical applications, maybe tiers of applications, you have a DR strategy, a warm DR between your data center and DR site. And for tier 1, 2, 3 applications, you can have a backup copy situated over there. Whenever you want to do a recovery, just restore it from your backup copy. You're good to go. Multiple options are available. You want to create a DR in on-prem, somewhere maybe you have a different factory, different site where you can do it, good to go. You want to do it in a Microsoft Azure, good to go. Running on-prem, DR on a cloud, very well feasible. You're running on a cloud, you want a DR in, not exactly a DR, but if you want to replicate all your backup copies to your on-prem because you want to have one more copy outside the cloud, very much possible. There could be a different use cases where you might want to have that. Microsoft 365, there are certain customers in the BFSI segment who run a search and discovery on the emails. Now emails, you also need, as per the regulation, you also need to have one copy in your premises all the time. So even though you're running Microsoft 365 on Microsoft Azure cloud, you take a backup, replicate a copy on your on-prem, and create a search solution on top of it. Zero trust principle, I'm sure you would be interacting with a lot of network guys, and zero trust architecture is a big buzzword out there. Everybody talks about it. Basically, very simple, trust no one out there, right? So that's predominantly when you deploy any software, you do not give any privileges to anyone. It's zero trust. As and when the user logs in or when the user asks for, okay, I want access to it, You create different buckets for different users depending on what they exactly want to do. You only give those ready access. It's a very simple. There's no, I would say, there's no great thing about it. We have been doing it in bits and pieces, correct? But now somebody coined the term zero trust architecture, and some of the network guys, took it, and everybody has got excited about the zero trust architecture principle. But if you look at it, it's very, very common sense, nothing to it. Commvault, since it has been a multi-tenancy from a long time, because a lot of our cloud service providers use Commvault to provide backup as a service, DR as a service, archive as a service. This is inbuilt into the software itself, which allows you to create different silos for your different internal users, even departments, and depending on what they want to do with it, the access can also be given or revoked. These are the 5 principles which are given by the NIST, National Institute of Science and Technologies, US. So again, very, very straightforward. Identification, identification, what is the data which you want to protect? Protection of the data, having multiple copies, having a copy which is offsite, and having a copy on immutable storage. So even if your data gets all encrypted, you have a backup copy which is on immutable storage, which cannot be encrypted. Monitoring for threat analysis, again, multiple approaches would be required. There's no one solution which will do everything for you. So Commvault provides some features which help you have a layer. I wouldn't say it does 100%, but at least have a layer, an extra layer of monitoring. Respond and recover. I'll just go through it. So I'm over the time. The last slide, the last line of defense and your first step to recovery, right? Everything fails. Everything fails in your, so whenever you have a problem in a data center, you'll always try to recover from whatever is inside a data center, right? Backup is the last piece of resort. When everything has failed, you go back to a backup and you do a recovery. And if a backup fails, you're gone. Maybe you're not gone, but your life would be hell for some time till the time you're able to recover or maybe come out of it, right? So it's last line of defense, and that's a product on which a company doesn't spend too much time, looking at what product they are buying, how they're deploying, is it being run properly, what is success ratio, how many copies do I make, do I also keep it on immutable storage, do I have a DR, what kind of DR it is, what is the RTOs, RPOs which I'm getting out there. So all these things, what basically we would talk about, maybe somebody look at these things when the initial deployment was being done. 3 years now, nobody had a look later on, but the things have gone haywire. So maybe somebody again needs to come back, have a look over here, and gentlemen, I'm done. So any questions? My time is over, but yeah, I can take questions if anybody has anything. No? Okay, so I would be available outside the booth. Anything we can take it from there. Thank you.